Ask Tom on Home Show.
Charles from Houston, Texas has a question about a new fence.
It's still got that new cedar smell, Tom.
Ah.
So what could possibly go? So Charles writes, I just had it put in. I was wondering, is there some kind of stain or sealer you might recommend to keep the wood looking fresh? And also, what do you think about spraying with a pump sprayer if I'm going to put something on there?
Well, first off, it has a new cedar smell. That's awesome. You get the new car smell. People love it. And Charlie, believe it or not, that's formaldehyde. So it must formaldehyde smells very good in the cars, not in the cedar. The cedar is fresh. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, I love
that's
that
why
cedar.
they use it in closets for your clothes and to kill the bugs and stuff. But going back to the fence itself, I would tell you, and you'll hear a lot of people probably say the same thing, don't do anything. A cedar fence is what it's supposed to be. It's not a high grade of cedar that you would put in a closet to do a cedar closet, although that would probably work for a little while. But what it is going to do is not rot, but it is going to weather until it finally does rot. Got about an 18 to 20 year lifespan with nothing on there. As long as it doesn't sit in a puddle of water, it should be okay, but it will weather gray. Now, if you want to keep it looking good, that means from day one, you start putting a stain on there or at least a clear sealer. But let me just tell you why I would not recommend it. Let's start with a clear sealer. Everybody wants to make it look natural, and I understand why. So use a clear sealer, a penetrating clear sealer, and you do it every 6 months. A very common one people would remember is a Thompson's. You hear that marketed a lot, and it's a waxed-based protector, and it'll bead up, it'll look beautiful. But being a wax, even like on your car, it will wear off in 6 months. And if you let it wear off long enough, it starts to turn, then you can't put it back on because then you're going to be sealing a turncoat fence, a turn-colored fence. So it's just going to be the same color, only it'll wax up and beat up. So then you have to go to a semi-transparent stain. And if you do that from the beginning, a semi-transparent stain, and use the cedar color, you might get 4 to 6 years out of it to where you have to go back and do it again. And if you let it go too long, it'll still turn color from the top to the bottom different. Then you go back with a solid color stain, and that will last maybe even longer. But then again, you'll have to go back and do it again to keep it looking that way. And if you don't go back, it looks really bad as opposed to just letting it weather naturally, evenly. So naturally and evenly is the best way to go. If you do it the other way, if you choose one of those 3 methods, or the last method, the 4th one nobody does except maybe up north, is actually paint it. They whitewash their fences, they paint their decks. It's very common in parts of the country to do that. That will last the longest, but it has to be done in a regular basis, and more so here in the south than the north because of the weather patterns. But you're going to have to do it a lot. And if you look at the expense, and if you look at the different products you have to buy, you're going to be paying for that fence over and over again. And you'll just get tired of it at one point and say, I'm not doing it anymore. Or you'll just move on to something else. And your last question about a pump-up sprayer, we use them all the time. And usually after you use it a while and it gets so clogged up and so dirty, you throw it away. And you can go through 3 or 4 of them before the fence is done. Or you can go rent at a rental place a real sprayer and get it done even quicker. And then they'll clean it up and they'll rent it again.
Yeah, Sandy learned that in using, she's a sprayer for some stuff she puts on the out on the lawn or the flowers or whatever. I know nothing of that.
She does have a radio show.
I live in blissful ignorance of all that stuff. But she says you got to clean the tips, and that's part of the problem with that is those tips get clogged, and it's just a pain in the neck. I will tell you, we did that. We when we moved in, the guy who sold us our house, had put that stain on the fence, and it looked beautiful for about a year and a half. And then, and then it started slow decline. And the cool thing about it, it all degraded at the same rate across the whole fence. No,
that's good because he used a cheap. No, it didn't. Oh, that's too bad.
No, not only that. Not only does it when you stain the fence, not only does it degrade each picket starts looking different, but then if let's say you have sprinklers in the backyard and the water's hitting that thing, now you've got these curves in it where it looks different. It's just don't do it. I'm with you. Don't do it. It looks great. A fence is meant to age. Let it age, right?
Yeah, and this is the land down here in Houston with cedar fences by the miles.
I mean, I'd love to say it's a great idea because there are people who do it who would gladly buy advertising on the show if we'd say nice things about it. But don't do it. I'm with you.
See, and that's how I started the whole answer was, first off, don't do it. Then I went through all that stuff, but I did pretty much say that too.
You got a question? Tom has something to say to you. If you click on the Ask Tom button there at HomeShowRadio.com, fill out the form, send it in. The question comes out here in a new video. We post one every day on our YouTube channel, the Home Show Radio YouTube channel. Of course, you'll find videos and a lot more waiting for you at HomeShowRadio.com.